In the event that your merchant service provider has activated advanced transaction routing for you, you'll see a few more details on the load balancing screen. In addition to this top section where we show the standard load balancing, where you can automatically route transactions based on proportions, as well as setting the default processor, you'll also see this option down here for merchant-defined field transaction routing, and this is another way you can route transactions. The system uses merchant-defined fields and the values passed for them to determine where a transaction should process. Again, because this feature only works when you have multiple credit card processors or check processors on your account, this will not appear if you are using one MID to process on. What you'll see down here is a drop-down where we show all of your merchant-defined fields. I can choose any of these, but the first three are the ones I'm actually using on this account. So as an example, let's say I want to route transactions based on the location where the purchases were made. I know that when I'm processing my transactions, I'm going to be entering a location, and depending on what that is, I want it to go to either processor A or to B. I'll select location, and then what's the value? I'll do Chicago. That's our first location, and I want all transactions where the location variable is set to Chicago. I want 100% of those transactions to go to processor A. You can tell your processors apart by the numbers in parentheses up here. I have 1 and 2, and these correspond with the list up at the top, 1 and 2. So when I say I want 100% of the transactions to go to 1, that's number 1 here, credit card processor A. I scroll down and hit save, and that makes another rule appear. So my first one is saved right here, and I want to do another one. So I'll do location, and this time I'll do Los Angeles. This one, I want all the transactions, 100% of the transactions, to go through processor B, and that's number 2. Hit save again, and there we go, I could be done. You'll notice that unlike regular load balancing, we do not use dollar amounts, we actually use percentages. And most of the time will be scenarios like this, where you have multiple values that could be passed for a specific merchant-defined field, and you want everyone with a certain value to go to one processor, everyone with another one to go to a different one. If I'd like, I could also have my Boston transactions, 100% of ones with Boston, to go to number 1 as well. In the event that I pass a value that is not on this list, that doesn't match any of these rules, for example, if I entered Cincinnati, since there's no rule on where to send a transaction with Cincinnati as this location value, we will just go to the default processor. Finally, one rare circumstance, you may want to split transactions across multiple processors. So if I have a location, let's say I do Madison, I can select to have 50% of those transactions go to processor A and 50% go to processor B. It's not going to split transactions in half and process half on one MID and half on the other, but it will alternate so the transactions are balanced between the two. In this example, I showed values for credit card transactions, but you have a separate list of rules that you can create for checks as well.